Hey, everybody, welcome back to Random Conversations. I'm Danielle,
And I'm Noel.
and we're here for episode 4. So, how are you feeling? You feeling good?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. It's Father's Day weekend. So, it's a
Got
great
any
weekend. I
plans
love
for
it.
Father's Day weekend?
I don't know. Well, I'm taking my dad out today for dinner. I want to beat that Father's Day crowd, but other than that, I don't really have anything else planned.
Oh, okay. I'm just going to chill with my dad and also chill with my son. And actually, I'm going to send my son to his dad so they can have a good Father's Day in this rain. So I know you've been watching the NBA Finals. I haven't, but I know you have. I've done some research, and it looks like the viewership is way down from what it was last year. What do you think contributes to that?
Well, first I want to say this finals right now is really good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what you want out of a finals. It's back and forth. The Pacers got game 1, Thunder got game 2, Pacers got game 3, Thunder got game 4, and they all been relatively close games, back and forth in the games. I feel like the style of play is what you want to. Is fast pace, is up and down. I think it's all about how the NBA is marketing their league right now. I mean, how they've always marketed their league. They put too much emphasis on the stars and not enough emphasis on the league and on the teams and the league as a whole. And I think they're suffering because of it. Because I can't see why you have the league MVP and Shea Alexander. He was runner-up MVP last year, so he's not like a one-hit wonder. He's had back-to-back years of excellence, and nobody's watching it. I think part of it is that OKC is in a small marketplace,
And
so they
so is
don't get the
Indiana.
eyeballs. Yeah, and Indiana's in a small marketplace as well.
It's the big markets. The big markets attract viewership.
But then I look at the NFL, and the NFL has a lot of small market teams and a lot of small market teams like Kansas City. Kansas City's not a big market team, you know what I'm saying? But the NFL, they market their league in a way that it's next man up. It doesn't matter if Tom Brady is on the Tampa Bay Bucks. It doesn't matter who's at the seat, right? People are going to tune into the Super Bowl because it's an event. It's almost like a national holiday the way we treat it, right?
Yes.
So the NBA needs to try to steal some pointers from the NFL's marketing team.
I think I was saying it to you that whoever is running the NFL front office, they need to give some guidance to the NBA because nothing comes before the shield, which is the NFL shield. And NBA, you have all these superstars, all these players that put themselves before the league. LeBron, I believe, puts himself before the league. Steph puts himself before the league. So until the NBA could fix that and tweak that, I believe the viewership is going to go down. People are only going to watch for the superstars. What's going to happen when LeBron retires? What's going to happen when Steph retires? What's going to happen when KD retires? There's nobody next in line. They're trying to push Giannis, but I don't think Giannis is marketable, but not to LeBron's stature or not to Steph's stature. They're trying to push Shea. He's not getting anywhere. He's in the finals and nobody really cares.
It's because Shea's personality. His personality isn't big enough to warrant him being the face of the league. I think that's the issue with him.
They're trying to push Halliburton now because Halliburton's been on a magic carpet ride straight to the finals.
Yeah, he's not the face of the league.
He's not going to be the face of the league.
He's perennial all-star. I wouldn't even put him as a superstar just yet because of his inconsistencies. But like even look at the last game, game 4, and look at his output. Well, not game 4. I believe it was game 3 that they won, and he had 20 and 11, I think. But he wasn't the leading scorer on his team. I mean, and that's not to say that scoring is the measure of how good you played, especially with him. But that team it's more of a team effort when they win. When you look at game 4, Shea got them that win. In the fourth quarter, he took all the big shots, and he said it. He was like, "If I'm gonna go down, I'm gonna go down swinging."
He put the team on his back.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't see anybody being next up in the NBA in terms of superstar status. In the NFL, it didn't even matter because you could say Tom Brady was the face of the league, but the way they market it was so different. And it really didn't matter that Tom was the face because everybody got their shine. People were going to watch Green Bay versus Seattle. and it will draw big ratings. So there's something there that needs to be tweaked, and maybe the NFL front office could share some pointers to the people in the NBA, because this isn't working, and your league is failing because of it. I want to talk about Tom Thibodeau being fired.
Mm-hmm.
It's been 2 weeks now since that happened,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and the Knicks, they look silly right now because they're out there trying to get head coaches that already got jobs. They got shut down by the Rockets, who tried. They tried to talk to Ime Udoka. They got shut down by the Bulls, who tried to talk. They tried to talk to their head coach. It just looks
They tried
very
to talk to
silly.
Minnesota's head coach too.
Yeah, and they're getting shut down left and right.
And
they're getting
Dallas.
closed doors. And
Well,
Jason
right.
Kidd, they shut that down as well. I don't understand. Like, what was the logic getting Tom Thibodeau fired?
Well,
I was
yeah.
watching First Take with Magic Johnson,
Mhm.
and they were talking about that. And Magic was like, I feel like they look so stupid right now. They should have gave Tom Thibodeau at least one more year. Like I told you, like they should have gave that man one more year.
No.
They took him as far as he took them to the Eastern Conference Finals.
I think that's the ceiling for Tom Thibodeau, and they knew,
They
and
should've
they
gave
felt
him
they
one
felt
more
that
year.
too. I think I would have given him one more year if we didn't have a contingency plan in place to replace him, which they don't have. They fired him with no plan, and then all the coaches that they want to speak to are coaches that already have jobs, so they have to ask permission from the teams to even speak with them. What team in their right mind that has a
Is
good
gonna let
coach
go.
is going to say, yeah, sure, go ahead, talk to my coach?
That's what I'm saying. So why would you put yourself in that predicament?
I don't know, Nick.
Why would you put yourself in that predicament?
bad
Now
for-
we don't have
Yeah,
anybody.
I feel bad for Knicks fans because you guys had back-to-back seasons where you guys have done fantastic.
They
you
should have
guys,
stuck with Tom.
you guys definitely overachieved this year, but I think next year there's going to be a dip.
Of course, it's going to be a dip because they're going to have to learn a whole new system with a whole new coach.
Well, I don't really think Tom Thibodeau had a system. I feel like his system was
Every
kind of like
coach has a
I feel like his system was kind of like Coach K. Play hard defense, give me great energy, and I kind of let you do a little bit what you want on the offensive end.
That's his system.
Yeah.
So now they have to erase everything that they know and learn somebody else's system.
Well, and that's the main reason why I thought they should have got rid of Tom, because I didn't like the way they played. First of all, he's a defensive coach, and their defense was not even middle of the pack this season. Secondly, their offense was very stagnant. It was a lot of ISO ball, Jalen Brunson going 1-on-5, dribble the ball. Maybe the last 4 seconds, if he has nothing, he'll try to kick and get a shot. They can't win like that, and we saw just how far that offense could get them. I think the Eastern Conference championship series was as far as they could have gotten. And I wonder how much of that was on the Celtics' stubbornness and sticking with the 3-point shot, right? Because I feel like the Celtics as a team, they were a better team on paper. They were a much deeper team, but their style of play is what shot them in the foot. I feel like if they had abandoned the three and
But it
made
worked
more of
for
a
them.
complete game,
They won a championship.
yeah.
It worked for
But
them.
they had a lot of injuries along the way.
Oh, they
to the
played injured.
to the opposition.
They
right?
played injured
Yeah.
teams. They beat Dallas. I don't think Dallas was injured.
Yeah, but Dallas don't play no defense either. So
Well, we'll see about that.
there's a reason why Dallas got rid of Luka.
Luka don't play no
few
defense?
a few months after he had him in the finals, right?
Do you think Dallas is gonna go far with this new kid that they're getting in the draft?
Cooper Flag.
Yeah, because now you got Kyrie, you got Anthony Davis, and you got Cooper Flag.
They got a nice team if they can stay healthy.
Yeah,
They got a nice team. But let's see what they do. Let's see if they can make some more moves to round out the roster. I think the Knicks. There's a lot of question marks with the Knicks and their roster. We don't know who's going to be there next year. Karl Anthony Towns might not be there next year if they find a decent trade.
I don't think they should trade him.
Well, if
Keep
you
the
could
nucleus that you have right now.
if you get
Not
Giannis.
shuffle. I heard Giannis is not leaving Milwaukee.
well, we never know. We never know. But I know if the Knicks were to get him, they would have to gut their team
Exactly,
completely
and that
to
would
get
be
him.
stupid. That would be so. I'd be so mad if they gutted their team, especially if they give away solid players like Josh Hart or OG. I'm like, for Giannis. So who's gonna fill out the bench when Giannis is sitting down on the bench? Who's gonna come in and play?
Well, that's what you pay GMs for. If the GM is worth the money you're paying him, you've seen it time and time again where a team guts their roster
But I
to
don't
go
think
get
this
players,
is
or
rebuild
they
mode.
or
This
they.
is not rebuild mode. This is not.
Yeah, but I don't think they're.
And if you trade for Giannis, you're basically rebuilding because you don't have anybody else around you.
That's not a rebuild move.
I think
I don't think so. I don't think that's a rebuild.
You got rid of your coach, and you're getting rid of half your team.
Well, they got that coaching move was ridiculous. They had no plan behind that. I think that was an emotional move.
It was an emotional
and they
move.
regret that now.
And I think Tom Thibodeau had issues with the front office, if I'm not mistaken. So it could have been an emotional move. And then I heard KD is looking for trade.
Yeah.
He's looking to move from Phoenix. And he got at a Twitter user who said, "You failed after Golden State. What did you do? You failed in Brooklyn. You're failing in Phoenix." So in KD's response, he basically clapped back with all his accolades.
Yeah, he said I got 2 championship rings, an MVP,
I got a
2
couple
finals
gold,
MVPs,
I got a couple gold medals. What do you have?
Yeah, he's like, I love my life. Like,
yeah, he said he loved his life. But it's like, all right, KD, what else? Where are you going to go now?
Yeah, I think, I mean, he's going to be 37 years old.
Wow.
He doesn't have, he has more years behind him than in front of him in the league.
Yeah.
It's a shame to see a talent like his fizzle out the way it's been fizzling out. Injuries really took a toll on him towards the latter stages of his career.
Yeah.
But the thing with KD that's holding KD back from being like one of the top 10 greatest players of all time, because his talent is undeniable, right? But his attitude is what's holding him back. You know, he's not an alpha leader. He's more of like, he's very chill, laid back. He'll get you 30 points, but you don't really see him yelling at players for not doing their job, making sure everybody's on point. He's not that rah-rah guy in the locker room to tell people, you know, we need to get it together. He's not that guy. And I think in all the stops after OKC, you saw that. In Brooklyn, Kyrie was the guy, and you saw what happened because of that. In Golden State, he was not the guy. The emotional leader is Draymond. He was not the guy. In Phoenix, nobody was the guy. Right? There was like no leadership whatsoever. Devin Booker, I think, is overrated, but that's a topic for another day. But where could he go to now that would make sense for him? I would love to see him on the Spurs or Wemby. I mean, just as a fan, I would like to see that. I would like to see him on the Knicks if they could keep Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson together, if they could keep that unit together. But then they would have to probably get rid of OG. I could see him on. I mean, I would love to see him on my Lakers.
No,
but
that's a solid no.
But
that's too much. LeBron, Luka, and KD. No,
I don't.
That's not even gonna mesh well.
Why not? KD is one of the only superstars.
No.
KD is one of the only superstars that you could drop in anywhere, and he'll fit it right in, because the way his game lends itself, he plays off the ball really well. He can play on the ball. He can bring the ball up, you know, and he doesn't have that. I mean, his game is that of someone who should have a massive ego, but he doesn't have that massive ego. So he's easy to play with. Everywhere he's went, he just melded right in. So
that spells bad news for all the other teams.
But that's why I would love to see him with the Spurs. I would love that. Okay. Him and Wemby together. I would love to see that.
I guess. So sticking with sports, but in a different area, Simone Biles is going back and forth with Riley Gaines, who's a political activist and also an Olympic swimmer. Riley said that she doesn't believe that trans women have a space in athletics, basically saying that it's not fair to women who play the sport when somebody who was born genetically a man comes in and wins everything based off their genetics. So Simone was basically she was supporting the trans women and saying that they do belong, but it's been a back and forth between the two. So how do you feel about the comments and the back and forth and banter between Simone and Riley?
I feel like Simone Biles is in the wrong. My opinion is that transgender women should be able to compete in sports and in any sport, but I believe that transgender men and women should have their own division. Just like the men's division, the women's division, the transgender men's division, and the transgender women's division. I think that's how it should be. To say that a transgender woman doesn't have an advantage over a biological woman is, to me, in my opinion, is a lie. Being able to go through puberty and gain all those advantages that males get with the high levels of testosterone, which leads to men being able to generate more power, more muscle density, bigger, more massive muscles. I'm like, these are just God-given advantages that males have, right? And it's undeniable. And to say that a transgender woman, just because she's had some hormones and some surgeries, that those advantages no longer exist, I just don't agree with that. I don't think it's fair. I think that it's a slap to women in their space. They should be. It's like when, to me, it's as disrespectful as when Caitlyn Jenner, right, when she was named Woman of the Year.
Oh yes, and
I thought that was like a slap in the face, right? Yeah. And I think that that's the same kind of disrespect when you see.
But that's kind of different to me.
I don't think so, because you can't take a man who's been a man for the majority of his life, do a gender reassignment, and then say that he's lived the female experience and he is the.
I get it, but I think they're looking back at his past and what he overcame, because he always had those feelings. He felt inside that he was a woman.
But he wasn't.
I know, but for him to come out and actually be, I guess now you could say, her authentic self, I believe time gave her that accolade because she had the courage to come out and say, this is who I really am. I know you know me as an Olympic. I think he was a track.
He was a triathlete.
He was a triathlete. I know you know me as this. I know you know me as like a father of a lot of kids, being hands-on. But this is how I feel inside, and this is who I am. And I believe they gave her that accolade because of the bravery.
I think that's a slap in the face. There's too many women achieving at the highest level for someone to come.
Yeah, but in this time, they're pushing through.
I don't agree with that. They deserve their own space, right? So if you want to say transgender woman of the year, then you could give that to her.
I don't even know if they.
You can't. You
want to be called trans.
I don't think that's fair. I don't want to look in the record books 20 years from now and see a bunch of transgender women holding all the records for women. That's not fair.
Well, that I think is probably. I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think there's a lot of trans women that want to compete in those types of spaces.
You're seeing it more and more that they're competing in those spaces, and you're seeing that whole beef between Riley Gaines and Simone Biles started because a girls softball team won a championship, and their star pitcher was a transgender woman. And Riley Gaines was like, no, "Is it any surprise that you guys won when your star pitcher is a male?" Right? Mm-hmm. It's not fair. You're taking away accolades from women in women's space to give it to a transgender woman. I don't believe that's fair.
I don't know. I don't think the space for them would be that big enough. Will it even have a spotlight? I don't think it will have a spotlight. Yeah,
probably not right now. But there's room for it to grow, and just because they're not going to get a spotlight doesn't make it fair for them.
There's a lot of people stopping them from getting that spotlight. Right, but I don't think that's ever going to happen.
It doesn't make it right for them to steal the spotlight from women. Right?
I get that.
It's not fair.
Yeah, I get that. But I just feel like their own space is not gonna happen. It's not gonna come into fruition because there's a lot of people that's stopping them.
You know when it's gonna be? When it's gonna become headline news? It's gonna become a real issue when you got like Grandma Ma come to the WNBA and start dunking on people's heads, then all of a sudden they're gonna be like, it's not fair, and it's down the third. That's what it's that's what it's gonna take. That's what it's gonna take, and that's sad that we can't see the clear differences between transgender women and regular women. Right? I think that it's just pretty clear to see, and I feel like people are being blind to it on purpose because they want to be sensitive to the transgender plight. And I'm sensitive to it as well. I believe that they deserve a space in society. Mm-hmm. They deserve to be seen and recognized. You deserve to be able to be who you feel that you are. I'm not against transgenders in any way, shape, or form. I just don't believe that they should be competing. Transgender women should compete against biological women, because there's just too much gray area there. No one can tell you with any certainty whether or not there is a clear advantage, mm-hmm. right? And if you can't say with 100% certainty that there is no advantage, they shouldn't be able to compete.
Okay,
that's just one man's opinion.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Everybody's opinions vary,
mm-hmm.
so. I want to get to Ananda Lewis, who recently passed away from breast cancer.
Who's Ananda Lewis?
She is, she was an American VJ. She used to be on MTV and BET as a host. She was very popular back in the day. I'm shocked you don't know her. That's your generation.
Okay, keep going.
So she died of breast cancer, and the way it was, I don't want to say it's controversial, but she chose to deviate from the traditional medicine like chemotherapy, and she chose to do a holistic approach to curing her breast cancer, very natural remedies. So, how do you feel about women who don't do mammograms regularly and want to take a holistic approach to curing whatever it is that they have?
I mean, to each his own. Everybody deserves to, decide what kind of health plan they want to follow. And there's been a big movement ever since Dr. Sebi became famous and out mm-hmm. there in the zeitgeist. People have been looking to alternative health plans in order to deal with things such as cancer. I think part of it has to deal with people's mistrust of the healthcare system in general, and the insurance companies and the pharmaceutical companies. There's a ideology out there that they believe that the pharmaceutical companies want to keep you sick. They benefit from your sickness.
But look at what happened to her.
Right.
She didn't go the pharmaceutical route. She went the holistic route. There is no evidence saying that these type of treatments work. And I didn't add this in the beginning. She actually regrets not doing the chemotherapy and things of that nature to keep her hair longer. So I don't even know why people try to take that route sometimes. We're advanced. You talk about technology all the time, right? Mm-hmm. We're at the point where we could use modern medicine to help and to prolong our longevity.
Well, our life expectancy has grown steadily. So.
Yeah, so I don't know what made her think that doing that natural route would work. But if it was me in my position, I have a kid, I would want to do my best to stay here for him if I were to ever get diagnosed with something like that. Yeah, natural. You could do natural stuff when you don't have any ailments or you're sick. You just want to keep yourself healthy. But when you get to the point where you need medicine, I don't think taking a natural route is the best.
I can't speak with any certainty as to whether or not the natural route is the right route or not. Like I said, I believe that's everyone's choice to make. But I can see why people decide to go the natural route, because there's so much mistrust, especially when it came to, in the advent of the COVID vaccine and everything, and how fast it was rolled out and how hard they pushed it onto people. Yeah. Right. So that kind of left a bad taste in people's mouth as well. I'm pretty sure that converted a few people to the side of holistic medicine as well. Because people think that these pharmaceutical companies operate with an agenda. And the pharmaceutical companies and the insurance companies kind of work hand in hand. One hand washes the other. So there's a lot of mistrust in the healthcare system right now.
I'm not saying don't use it, period, but you could use it in conjunction with modern medicine. Don't solely depend on the natural route to cure whatever it is you have. If you could use it concurrently with modern medicine, I think that would be best. So
if you could do that, yeah, but sometimes that might not be the case. Sometimes you might have to decide whether or not you want to be on one side of the fence or the other.
I mean, if it's natural, it's not going to hurt you.
If it's natural, it's not going to hurt you, but you might be going through some different testing and stuff like that prevents you from maybe ingesting certain things.
I can't drink tea because I'm on this medication.
Well, not tea, but you know how when you're going through like certain procedures, how you can't
eat certain
things and stuff like that.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm. And then you also have to look at the monetary side of it as well. These medications aren't cheap, and they're not getting cheaper.
But I understand that. But if it's available to you, and a lot of these things were available to her, she should have taken it. And she kind of walked back, and she said, "I should have," when her cancer got into the later stages. And she also didn't believe in taking routine mammograms because she said her mother took mammograms for, I think, 30 years, and she still ended up getting cancer, and she blamed the radiation of the machines that was used to conduct those mammograms.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's her fault because there was nothing conclusive that would lead her to believe that it was the radiation that led to her mother's cancer, number one. Number two, you could take all the precautions in the world and still come down with certain illnesses. You know, you might just be genetically predisposed to get these things, right? So to say that you're not gonna do these tests for early detection and stuff because you feel that, because your gut feeling tells you that the mammograms give your mother cancer, I don't think that doesn't make sense to me. I feel that, you know, what happened to her mother was it happened. There was no stopping it. It was gonna happen. It was probably, and more than likely, it was probably the foods that the foods that we're eating more so than the mammograms that's causing the rampant spread of cancer. And that's what we need to really take a look at. Not the mammograms. I think
that's what I'm saying. Like, you could eat all the organic foods you want, but don't think that's gonna cure everything if you end up getting sick.
Yeah, because you can still get sick. But my school of thought is I'd rather do everything to prevent it. And if I do get sick, I can say, well, I did my best, as opposed to just
because there's people who are healthy and they just drop dead. Don't know why. So you can't solely depend on that. If there's medicine that can help you if you're going through something, and if it's available to you, because, you know, certain people could deny your access to it, then you utilize it.
But my question to you is, what do you say to the success stories? The people who have taken the holistic approach and had remission in cancer?
Well, that's good for them. I haven't heard. I'll probably research some success stories, but
there've been people that have said that they've been able to they've experienced remission in cancer because they've used the holistic approach.
But did they detect it early?
But I don't know.
I think that's the difference. I don't think she didn't detect it early, and that's why it exacerbated to what it was. If it was early detection and you used a holistic approach, then I can understand that. But you're not going to tell me you started off at stage 3 and then you used a holistic approach and then you ended up in remission. I don't believe it. I would have to look into that, but that's what I would say. And if it did work for them, congrats to them. But me as a person, I wouldn't really do that. I'll do it in conjunction with whatever it is. If I can do it in conjunction, but I'm not going to make that my sole source.
It seems to me like you just want to go the traditional route just in case, because then you can say I did what I was supposed to do and it happened to me anyway.
And like I said, I have my child to live for. I don't want to be swept up off this earth so early. She was only 52 years old and she looked good for her age. She didn't even look a day over 40. Yeah. So it's very young. Sad. 50 is young. 50 is very young. I watched her growing up. So it was very sad for me. And I just wanted to, put a spotlight to, I'm not at that age yet. And maybe, when I get to that age, I'll say it again. But take your mammograms because you never know. So I want to get to Mr. Trump and Elon. Elon is now walking back his comments about Trump and the whole Epstein Island thing.
Everyone always says, I want to start my own business because I don't want to work for anybody. I'm like, newsflash, everybody works for somebody. You still got to pay your taxes. You still got to pay for studio time. You still, you're always going to be beholden to something or someone. And in his case, he's beholden to his shareholders. He has a duty to keep the company profitable. And so he has to say what he has to say. He has to do whatever song and dance he needs to do in order to get back into good graces so that the company can become more profitable again. I think he's done irreparable damage to his brand.
It's irreversible.
And to his company. Ever since he aligned himself with Trump, his companies have taken a major hit. I don't know if he could pull out of this. I thought it was all a stunt. I thought he was trying to do some damage control, some PR control, and get some popularity back by, giving Trump a little bit of pushback. And when he saw that his companies actually took another hit, he is trying to walk it back now.
I thought the reverse would happen. I thought once he outed Trump, everybody was going to be like, "Oh, okay, let me go and buy a Tesla now."
Yeah, I thought that was. I'm pretty sure that's what he thought was going to happen.
Yeah, for it to take a dive like that, I was not expecting it at all.
Yeah, at one point there was nothing he could say or do that would like.
Yeah, it's like, dang, I can't even join this side. I can't be over here. Either way, I'm screwed. So, I thought he was gonna try to. I thought he was, kissing Trump's ass because he just thought, dang, he was really an ally. I have to get back. But I didn't think about the shareholder situation and the people he has.
Because he has billions of dollars wrapped up in those government contracts. And if he loses that, that's a massive hit to his company, right? And he wouldn't be doing his job as an owner if he wasn't trying to fix this, trying to do some damage control.
I think he regrets getting in alignment or an allegiance with Trump. Because look what's happening. Everything has just been downhill since he decided to endorse him through his campaign and actually be a part of Doge and in the government. It's just everything is going wrong for him. So I do feel like he regrets everything that's going on. He should just stayed and mind after Twitter or X. That's what he should have just stayed and did. Because this is not looking good for him.
He got too cocky. He was feeling himself a little bit.
He thought he was invincible.
Yeah, he thought he could do whatever he wanted to do.
Now Trump not paying him no mind. And like I said, I think he's trying to sell the Tesla. The Tesla.
I mean, Trump is gonna they're gonna make nice because he can make problems for the Republican Party. But if he decides to back these Democrats in the upcoming primaries and stuff like that, he could swing the balance of power. He could take that $200 million and disperse it amongst maybe like 20 different Democratic candidates. Like, he if he's really vindictive, he could do something like that just to get back at him. They're fully aware of what he can do. So I think it's in both parties' best interest to kind of just reconcile. But you see, he's so egotistical that he couldn't come out and like apologize. He just said, I might have went a little bit overboard. I might have went a little bit too far, but you'll never hear him.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard him apologize.
No, but people like that in those positions with that kind of wealth, they rarely have to apologize for anything. It's not.
Sorry is not in their vocabulary.
Yeah,
it's not. I find that
even when they do something wrong, what they do, they get sued, they settle. They're not going to tell you sorry. They'll just give you some money and just go away. And the problem does go away. Right. But then they end up in another situation, got to settle again. They never learn from their mistakes. So to stick into the theme of, politics, the LA riots that have spread around the country now. There's multiple cities, including this one, New York, that are doing protests against the ICE raids that are happening to innocent people. I do believe that this has taken a turn that it shouldn't have. I don't think ICE was supposed to be sweeping people up off the street that were hardworking citizens just trying to make a living, and that's what they're doing. Well, they
and
weren't
that's
citizens.
Well, hardworking people.
Yeah.
Not citizens. Let me retract. Hardworking people that are not. They're not menaces to our society. They're just trying to make themselves better.
Yeah, and most of them aren't.
Yeah, most of them are. I believe like the criminals, like I believe on the campaign trail when Trump was campaigning for president, he said we're gonna sweep the criminals off the street. Just the criminals. That's what the ICE is it a brigade? Anyway, that's what ICE is for. Just to sweep the criminals off the street. Not the people who are working on farms and is retaliating against his own people, the Americans, because now they don't have farmers don't have anybody to work the fields because they're all getting swept up by ICE.
Yeah, there was a company in Nebraska, and the owner was just like shocked because when they raided him,
There's nobody left.
They took 70% of his workforce.
Yeah.
So he now Trump he's starting to walk it back. He's talking about he's potentially going to sign a executive order preventing the deportation of hardworking immigrants. He's like, there's a lot of immigrants working these farms. They've been on these farms for 20 years, and they've been really great. And he said that he's signing this executive order because he doesn't want these good hardworking immigrants to get deported, and then the companies have to hire criminals and murderers. It always comes back to criminals and murderers, right?
Everybody's a criminal and a murderer.
And it makes me laugh because the riots and everything could have all been avoided had he made this determination 2 weeks ago, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone is in agreement that the immigration system in this country needs a revamp. I think that the most important thing that needs to be revamped is the speed in which an immigrant can become a citizen. I think it takes way too long.
It takes years.
But I do like the travel bans that he was putting on some of those countries that are not cooperating with the United States and trying to identify these immigrants and whatnot. Mm-hmm. We need to know who's coming in our country so that we can better decide who should stay and who should go, right? But no one can get behind the way ICE has been going around doing their job, just snatching up people that's been
snatching
there,
up kids too.
Yeah, working. They're not out on these streets robbing people or cutting people or anything like that. They're clocking in, going to work every day. Those people, what he should have did was identify those people and fast track them to citizenship, right? And a lot of those people he's able to identify now, especially those people that got caught up in raids, if they haven't been deported yet, you can identify those people and try to see if you can't figure out a way to fast track citizenship for them. Because he stated some of these people have been working on these farms for 20 years. And they're not citizens. That makes no sense. How can you be in the United States for over 20 years and not be a citizen? They really need to revamp the whole immigration process and the citizenship process.
Yeah, because all of this stuff could have been avoided. They're bringing in trauma that doesn't need to be there with the detainees and also the protesters. Because I don't know if you saw the sheriff in Florida. He said if you decide to protest against the ICE raids, we're gonna kill you.
Yeah, I mean that's Florida.
It is Florida.
I mean,
but why would you just come out there and say that?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
It's funny because I have this. My wife and I know this couple, and they're always trying to get us to move out there. But there's always something in the news that always reminds you why you don't want to move. I might go to Miami to enjoy a weekend and come back, but that's as far as it goes because they crazy out there.
My mom loves Florida as well. I'm like, you want to deal with alligators,
hurricanes, rain,
crazy people. Like you might as well just stay up here. Deal with the 4 seasons. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
you've been dealing with it for a very long time.
The weather isn't enough of a sell for me to move down to Florida. Honestly.
And parking.
Nope.
You could find it here.
And it's getting expensive down there too.
Yeah.
So I read somewhere Miami, a couple of years ago that the real estate and the rent is going up and all of that stuff. So maybe in like 10, 15 years, you look around and no place is affordable. So.
And they're taking away certain lessons that should be taught in history specifically like African American history. I believe.
Like the Jim Crow.
Yeah, they're taking it out. They're trying to eradicate the history in that specific state.
And in order to, help to prevent history repeating itself, we must know our history first.
Yeah. If we don't know it.
Yeah.
Well, if they don't know it, we know
I
it.
mean, well, that sheriff, I don't know if that sheriff know anything outside of.
But they always got the internet.
I
They
mean,
could Google it if they want to
mhm.
and learn
Mhm.
that way. So I guess you might not be taught in school, but there's a lot of things that Google and YouTube could teach you.
It's just crazy to me that the sheriff felt comfortable enough to go out and say something like
Yeah,
that.
we will kill you.
We will
And
kill you.
I don't even think there was any
For
repercussions.
exercising your First Amendment right. You can protest peacefully and lawfully, you know. But when the president goes out there and says that he's gonna go hard on protesters if they protest during his military parade,
Oh.
you know, he's setting an example where people like that sheriff feel comfortable coming out and saying
saying things
silly
like
shit
that.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's out of pocket for that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Ever since 2020, when Trump first, announced his candidacy for president, it's like the political atmosphere in this country turned into like a third world country. Because you used to see that type of behavior over there where they would kidnap party members and, bomb certain buildings and, it was like chaos. And then I remember during his first presidential run where somebody was dropping cherry bombs into freaking mailboxes
Yeah.
and all that stuff. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And it's spiraling out of control. There's too much division in this country. It's either you on the left or the right. There's no middle. I personally find myself more in the middle. I feel like life is better understood in the middle. But there's too many people that's just hardliners to the right, hardliners to the left. And they're willing to kill
Yep.
to so that their side can win, and that's crazy because to an eye for an eye, you're blind. this country is getting out of control with the politics.
Yeah. I just want there to be peace. That's all. Just peace.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, but I remember you used to always hear this sentiment like America's too much in everybody else's business. We need to take care of stuff at home, and I think that's now more prevalent than ever. That we need to take care.
I think we're
of
doing
home.
a mix of both right now.
We need to take care of home because home right now looks unrecognizable from like 20 years ago. It's just it's toxic everywhere you go now.
Yep. I don't know what's going on. So another thing that was in the news, we're going to talk about a lot of news today. The airplane crash in India was so tragic. I believe everybody on board except for one person perished.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
I thought Final Destination when I saw that. 242 passengers on that plane.
That was a full booked flight.
And 241 perished. And one man survived. And not only did he survive, he walked
Yeah, he
away.
only got scratches on his face.
And it wasn't like the plane just like crashed in water or something like that. It slammed into the ground and exploded. And he was able to walk away.
Yeah.
So,
I think he was in seat 11A.
Yeah. So seat 11A about to sell out in all these flights.
I want seat
11A.
11A. When I book my flight, that's the seat I want.
Yep.
Just in case.
That one seat is gonna be like $1,000. It's gonna be like a first class seat. But that's crazy. What a lucky dude.
Yeah, very lucky. But his brother passed.
Yeah, that's a sad
which
thing.
is sad. And he's lucky, but he's always he's definitely gonna feel survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
He's gonna feel that. He's gonna need so much therapy just to get over this.
But I was having a conversation with my wife about that. I guess because I don't really truly have a full understanding of survivor's guilt. But I'm like, I'd just be so grateful to survive. I mean,
because why me and not them?
Yeah, but who can answer that question?
You can't. That's why you have the guilt. Because it can't be answered.
It's out of your hands.
It is out of your hands, but you're gonna feel that guilt. Like, dang, why he had to go? Why she had to go? Why that had to happen to him?
Why not take me? I'm like, nah, I want to walk away.
I don't know. That's because that's you.
I just don't. Well, I'm glad that I've never been put in a position to where I might feel survivor's remorse. I'm trying to understand it. I just don't understand that line of thinking. I'd just be so happy to get out of it virtually unscathed.
I think it's because if there's innocent people that
he's innocent too.
If there's innocent people that had the bad outcome, you're like, damn, but that person didn't deserve it.
Yeah, no one deserved that.
But you're gonna feel that guilt. Like, come on, Come on, you're not gonna feel guilty if something bad happens to someone and you end up on the good side, but they did nothing to deserve their outcome.
through no fault of my own.
They did nothing to deserve that outcome. They're gonna feel
guilty?
bad.
How can I feel guilty about a twist of fate? I'm not saying that
They're gonna
people
feel bad.
survivor's remorse is a real thing, right? So I'm not saying that it's some made up crap and he doesn't really feel it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying from my perspective, I'm trying to understand that whole thing, survivor's guilt.
Look at what happened to his brother.
I mean, yeah, I'll be devastated that my brother passed away.
And all those people who didn't deserve to die in a plane crash died in a plane crash. You're gonna feel survivor's guilt. You're gonna feel guilty. Yeah, you feel good that you made it, but you're gonna feel guilty that 241 people didn't.
I don't know. I would feel bad that 241
You're gonna be like, why
didn't.
me? Like, out of everybody on that plane, why did I come out this way? It wasn't supposed to be this way.
I don't know. I'd feel bad that 241 people passed away and I survived. I feel bad that they passed away, but I don't know if I feel guilty.
I feel somewhat guilty. And he's gonna need a lot of therapy to get over that. That's very traumatic. He's probably having nightmares.
Or he could feel invincible.
He's gonna have nightmares, I tell you, nightmares about that. You were telling me about an article that somebody wrote about the mental load on fathers.
Yeah.
Mothers, we have mental loads dealing with children, but I guess sometimes we forget that our partners or the person that we have a child with has mental loads as well. And do you want to shine a light on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think what it is, men today get held. We get held accountable for the stuff that men in past generations did and how they behaved, right? Because countless studies, and not only studies, but my own personal observation, my own personal life, I've seen men much more involved in their child's life today.
And there's statistics that show
than in the past, right? So now it's not only the mother that's involved in the child rearing, but the father as well. So the father is having an additional load put on him, right? And that can have a mental strain because he's not only worried about, bringing home the bacon and keeping the roof over the head and the lights on and all of that stuff as well, but now he's dealing with the stress of, getting the kids ready for bed and getting them ready for school and, helping them with their homework and all of that stuff like that. It's a big strain. And that's not to say that women don't have that strain too, because the gender roles have changed slightly because women are more heavily involved in the workforce and are making money just as much as men and are contributing to the household as much. So I feel that the mental load is now, it's very similar. And I feel that women should be empathetic to the mental load that
women, we're gonna be like, but we've been dealing with this from the beginning of time.
You don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear that because it's dismissive. It's very dismissive to say that, right?
But I wasn't here from the beginning of time.
Last week, we had a conversation about men and them showing their emotions.
Yeah.
So for a man to come to you and express that, he's feeling a little stressed, and you be like, well, I've been dealing with this for years. Welcome to the life of a woman, blah, 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 blah. You think he's going to feel comfortable opening up to you again? No. And it's very dismissive. And because like I said, men are they're pulling their weight. They're doing their fair share in the household now. So with that comes more stress, right? And for us as men, like I said, I'm gonna harp on it again. We need to be able to express ourselves and get that stress out because we always let you guys dump your stress, your issues out on us, and it helps you guys. It would have the same beneficial effect for us as well, but we have to get comfortable with doing that. But yeah, I just wanted to say that because I was looking, the article I read, it was sharing some of the comments, and some of the comments was very dismissive of the man's of the stress.
And that's why some fathers just get up and leave because of things like that. The mother's complaining, and he just gets fed up, and he just goes about his business and never comes back. So if you leave that space for him to come and be vulnerable and vent to you, I'm pretty sure it'll be beneficial for the relationship and also on how he takes care of the children.
And like I said before, Fathers are doing their thing nowadays. Everywhere I go, every extracurricular activity I take Jack to, I see fathers there.
Yeah.
I see mothers and fathers. They getting their hand. We getting our hands dirty as much as you guys now. And I feel that we need to feel appreciated. We want to feel appreciated. Sometimes you'll hear us say, like my wife might ask me, what do I want for Father's Day? And I might say, I don't need anything. Like, because that's our default. We don't really look for anything or anything like that.
A tool belt.
Right. But if you give us something, it will mean the world to us because it shows that you recognize us. Right. So I just want the women out there to their husbands or their children's fathers to show appreciation to the ones that deserve it, the ones that's out there, taking their kids to the extracurricular activities and putting them to bed and going through the slings and arrows with you. Show them that appreciation, show them that love.
Yes, I agree. So I hope you have a happy Father's Day. And to all the fathers, again, happy Father's Day. And that was Random Conversations. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Noel.
And we'll see you next week.